Hello friends, this is Om Prakash Samantray, Assistant Professor in CSC. We are discussing database management systems. In a previous video, I have explained the locking concept, the binary locks and shared and exclusive lock. In addition to that, we have also discussed what is a two-phase locking protocol. In the two-phase locking protocol, there are two phases, growing phase and shrinking phase. And in the growing phase, all the locks are required. In the shrinking phase, all the locks are released. And if the upgradation of lock is needed, then that is done in the growing phase. If the downgrading of locks are required, that is done in the shrinking phase. That is what we have discussed in our previous video. The problem of two-phase locking is sometimes deadlock occurs. If a situation arises, you can see the figure here, diagram. If these are the two transactions, T1, T2, T1 prime and T2 prime, see T1 prime has locked Y and trying to lock X, right, in the right mode. Similarly, T2 prime has locked the item X, now trying to lock Y in the right mode. If these two transactions are executed simultaneously in an interleaved manner like this, then T1 prime is looking for X, which is held by T2 prime. Now T2 prime is looking for Y, which is held by T1 prime. So they are circularly waiting for each other. This situation is called as deadlock. In this deadlock, no transaction can proceed its execution. Hence, we need to abort any of these two transactions to continue their execution. So there are two prevention techniques used here: wait, die, and und wait. These techniques are based on the concept of timestamp. Written here, timestamp, transaction timestamp, denoted as TS. Timestamp of T means timestamp of a transaction T. Timestamp, you can think think it as beginning time of the transaction or starting time of a transaction. It is easier to understand if you think like this. So timestamp of a transaction is the starting time of the transaction. If timestamp of T1 less than timestamp of T2, means T1's time starting time is less than T2's starting time, means T1 has started first, T2 has started later. So which one is older? Older is T1, younger is T2. Older transactions are having lower timestamp values. Younger transactions are having higher timestamp values. That is the concept. Now based on this timestamp, sorry. So based on this timestamp value, these two approaches are designed: wait die and und wait. In the wait die, if the T1 is trying to lock an item X, here Ti is trying to lock the item X. So what is the requesting transaction? Ti. Now if X is locked by another transaction Tj, now what will happen in wait die? Sorry. If transaction timestamp of Ti is less than timestamp of Tj, means Ti is older, Tj is younger, then Ti is allowed to wait. Otherwise means when this condition is false, in that case Ti become younger. In that case, younger one is aborted. So very simply, if the requesting transaction is older, it is allowed to wait until the item is available. If the requesting transaction is younger, then it is allowed to die. That's why the name is wait and die. Our name is given related to the requesting transaction. So if the requesting transaction is older, allowed to wait. If the requesting transaction is younger, allowed to die. Wait, die. Similarly, in this case, second case, if the requesting transaction is younger, if the requesting transaction is older, that is it is having a lower timestamp value, then it aborts the younger transaction. So it will continue its execution by aborting the younger transaction, right? And the younger transaction which is aborted will be restarted later with the same timestamp value. If the requesting transaction is younger, then it is allowed to wait. So these two are opposite. In the previous case, olders are allowed to wait. In the second case, youngers are allowed to wait, right? So any of these two techniques can be used to prevent the deadlock. Now, based on this timestamp ordering protocol is also used for concurrency control, right? Basically, the timestamp values are assigned in the order in which the transactions are submitted to the system, or you can think it as a um, uh, the current date and time value of the system clock to ensure that no two timestamp values are generated during the same tick of the clock. Means two transactions cannot have the same timestamp value. This is unique for all these transactions. Now in this timestamp ordering algorithm, the idea is to order the transactions based on their timestamp value. The transaction which has started first has to be completed first. The transaction which is started next has to be completed next. So the order must be maintained because based on the timestamp value, the transaction must be ordered. In the same order only, the transactions must complete its execution. That is the main concept of this ordering algorithm. So a schedule in which the transactions participate is then serializable, and the only equivalent serial schedule permitted has the transactions in order of their timestamp values. That is called as your timestamp ordering protocol. So to do this, the algorithm associates two variables or two timestamp values with every transaction, every data item x. X is a data item, so x has or every data item has two timestamp values: read timestamp and write timestamp. So what is the read timestamp value? Read timestamp of x is equals to the timestamp of the transaction which has successfully read the value of x. And you need to remember that the timestamp of the youngest transaction which has successfully read the value of x. Youngest means the highest timestamp value. So many transactions might have read the value of x. Out of all these transactions, you have to find out only that transaction which is having the highest timestamp value. Highest timestamp value means the youngest transaction. So the timestamp of the youngest transaction which has successfully read the value of x is called as read timestamp of x. Similarly, the timestamp of the transaction which has successfully written the value of x. In this case also you need to consider the transaction having the highest or largest timestamp value, that is the youngest transaction. So the timestamp of the youngest transaction which has successfully written the value of x is your right timestamp of x. So these are the two timestamps, and based on these two timestamps, the basic timestamp ordering technique is used. So whenever a transaction T is trying to issue the read item or write item operation, basic timestamp or algorithm compares the timestamp of the transaction T with the read timestamp and write timestamp value to ensure that timestamp order of the transaction is not violated. So whenever a read item or write item operations are requested by any transaction, then these two things are compared with the timestamp of transaction T, so that this the execution of or the permission to these two operations will be issued based on the rule of this transaction timestamp ordering protocol. So you can see these are the two things here. When the transaction T issues the write item operation, these two things are done. If the transaction T is issuing read item, the read item operation, this is checked. It's very simple. These two rules are quite similar. If write item of X is issued, then it checks the read timestamp of the item X greater than timestamp of T, or write timestamp of X greater than timestamp of T. It is checking these two conditions. If the any of these two conditions true, or is written here. So if any one of these two is true, then abort and roll back the transaction T. Now you need to remember T is the requesting transaction. So timestamp of T requesting transaction is less than a read timestamp value of X or write timestamp value of X. That means the value of X is already written by some other younger transaction than T. Some other transaction which is younger than T has already written or read the value of X. That's why the ordering is violated. Hence, T must be aborted and rolled back, or it can be restarted later with a new timestamp value. Right. So if any of these two conditions or both the conditions are false, then section B is executed. If the conditions in part A, means this one, these two conditions does not occur, then simply allow a write item operation of the transaction T and set the write timestamp of X to timestamp of T, because T has successfully written the value of X. That's why write timestamp value must be changed. In the second condition also, if read item of X is issued, then only one condition is tested here. For write item, two conditions are tested here. For read item, only one condition is tested here. If this condition is true, again roll back or abort and roll back T, because some younger transaction than the transaction T has already written the value of X. That's why T is not allowed to write. If this condition is false, come to the point B, that read item is allowed for transaction T, and after that the read timestamp of X must be reset to timestamp of T, because T has allowed to read the value of X. That's why timestamp of T must be set to read timestamp of X. That is the procedure. These two things are used, the two conditions are tested before uh, permitting any item to read or write on a particular data item X. So this one ensures that the read operation and write operation on data items by any of the transactions are done based on the timestamp order of the timestamp values of the transactions. That's why the name is your timestamp ordering protocol. So with this we have completed the timestamp ordering protocol. You can there are so many other timestamp ordering techniques are available, but these are little advanced topics. I will try to explain those concepts in my next video. Thank you very much.